So I kind of paused work on my deep space cargo pod to get a diorama base built and have a big chunk of this XPS foam that I needed to cut down. So I started out kind of rough. You can see I chopped it out with a big kitchen knife and an extremely janky hot wire cutter that I just sort of cobbled together, because, buying it, where's the fun in that? I must say, though, it worked, and it worked pretty good as far as the cutting aspect goes. My execution of the cuts were not the best, and I had to go back and square them up and whack at them a time or two until I got them where I wanted them. But I need more control out of what this janky little old thing will give me, so I've decided to build one. I'll be using this 1/4 inch expanded PVC. It's called Sintra. It's pretty good stuff. But if you wanted to make one for yourself, you don't have to use Sintra. It could be any sort of dimensional 1/4 inch material like MDF or some plywood, just whatever you got around. It just needs to have a little bit of rigidity to it. Once I decided on the general size of the thing and taking into account the piece of material I'm going to be working with, I rough cut out the 3 layers, which will make up a bottom layer, a middle layer that will have the wiring run through it, and then a top layer. This stuff cuts pretty easy, but it's, just working here on your bench like this, it's not the most precise, so, you use a little bit of sandpaper along the way to kind of clean up the edges, and you can get a pretty good shape out of this stuff. If you are using this Sintra, though, this is PVC, and you don't want to be breathing the dust from this stuff. This, microplastics in the lungs, probably not the best thing. So wear a respirator or at least a dust mask. So I chose which one of the 3 was going to be the middle and laid out the wire path on there and then marked it up so that, because you're going to cut it into pieces, and so you can carve out the wire path, but you need to be able to put it back together again, so you need to make certain that everything is marked so you know where it goes back at. So you could probably do this in fewer pieces, but this sort of made the puzzle I was looking for. That's pretty easy. Didn't take too much effort, but you just kind of have to imagine, okay, I need a gap here, I need a gap there, and I've got one wire running here, one wire running there, but here I've got 2 wires running, and I'm going to have a switch. So you got to imagine, okay, leave enough room for a switch. Super glue, or CA glue, as it is the best thing I've found so far for gluing this PVC together. It's fairly instant, and the vinyl will come apart before the glue lets go. Just personal preference. I like the thin stuff. I think it flows a little better. It gets into the cracks and crevices, and it just, I think I have a slightly bit more control that way. Once I had that laid out, I needed to figure out a way to attach the wire to the end. So what I came up with is these bolts and nuts. So it's 1 bolt and 3 nuts all together. The head and 1 nut is embedded into the end of the fork, so that that can be super glued in place and wedged, and it'll be a solid attachment point. And once I've got the wire on there, I'll be able to put some tension on it. I use some pretty heavy gauge wire for this, and also the switch. These are all at least 220 volt, 15 amp rated for AC, so it shouldn't have any trouble with the little bit of DC I'm going to be running through it. I had to dig out a little bigger space for the switch, but I think it all went together pretty well. Once I had everything together, I taped it all up. I didn't glue anything yet. I wanted to make sure we test it to make sure it works, and it does. Works really well. So, okay, this is what my workspace looks like at the end of a project like this. It's the chaos has crept in, so I took a pause and cleaned everything up and finished gluing everything together, kind of sanding around and smoothing up the edges just to make it look better. I did get the switch is slightly off center, but it works out to where it was a happy accident. It's right over top where my thumb is, so it's going to be really easy to switch on and off. And a quick word about the power supply. There's a fairly wide range of voltages and amperages that'll work with this, but the particular power supply you need it's going to have probably an older one. The problem is that the new versions have a I don't know, it's a sensor. It will turn itself off if it detects a short, which this basically is you've got you're running positive and negative together, so when it reads that fault, it turns itself off. So you can hook it up and it's just dead, doesn't do anything. So I had to do a bit of digging around, and I ended up with it's a 9-volt 400 milliamp power supply that came off of a battery toy that my kids had from years past, and it works good. It could be slightly hotter, so I may rig up see if I can find a little more powerful one, but that one works really well. Again, it's 9 volts at 400 milliamps, but it doesn't have that circuit in it that turns itself off, so that's important. So thank you for watching, and I appreciate you sticking around to the end. If you like this format, it's mostly just screenshots. That it took me about 5 hours to build this thing over 2 or 3 days, just working on it here and there. So when I thought, editing that down into a video, that's going to end up. So I don't know. I thought I'd give this a try. It's an experiment, if you will. So if you like this format, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed it and you think you got some value out of it, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and consider subscribing, because I'll have more of this stuff as time goes by. And thank you again, and go make something.